Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
The jury came forward with some questions, but so far no verdict after day one of deliberations are complete in the Jennifer Crumbley case. Thanks for joining us here for the News at 5. I'm Kimberly Gill.
And I'm Pamela Osborne in for Devin Skillian. The jury making it clear it will be thorough in deciding on those 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter against the mother of the Oxford school shooter. Sean Lay live at the Oakland County Courthouse for us tonight with expert insight on those deliberations and the questions the jury asked today. Sean?
Let's get right to it. Pamela just came out of the courtroom to meet you right here. And look, the judge told the jury maybe sleeping on it overnight tonight. They'll come to a verdict sometime tomorrow. I looked at every one of the 12 jurors. They look engaged, do not look tired whatsoever. They want to keep going, however, in the morning. What's going on in that jury room? The 2 questions they had to ask. The judge today, I asked a longtime judge who's now retired, Vonda Evans. She has some interesting insights that really give us a peek into that jury room.
If anybody is going to get the benefit of the doubt, it's going to be the mom.
Vonda Evans spent 22 years on the bench as a Third Circuit judge in Wayne County, presiding over a long list of high-profile trials. Evans tells us this jury may be looking at Jennifer Crumbley not as a defendant, but as a mother.
Many times, jurors feel sorry for people, and they tend to feel sorry many times for women, especially if they were not the ones that pulled the trigger. Mom basically said, this is dad's thing. He's the one that got the gun. I don't know anything about it. Based on my recall, the gun was secured. The bullets were separate. So what she's doing is basically blaming dad.
This jury deliberating since 10 this morning and asking the judge if they should consider the fact that prosecutors did not call the shooter to testify. The answer was no, but it shows the jury is looking at everything. What's going on in that jury room?
Let me tell you something about jurors. They take their responsibility seriously. These are people that you have to give a crash course in all the law you've learned for the last 20 years. And so what they want to do, they want to go over everything. They're going to ask for readbacks. Why? Because what they want to do is say, oh, on page line 3, page 6, it's this. And what you have to do as a judge, it can't be trial by transcript. They're going to go over everything. But at the same time, they're bringing their experiences, their own life experiences.
So much to consider. The first question the jury asked today was about involuntary manslaughter. That was handled very carefully. But Judge Vonda Evans says the questions show is that this jury is trying to be, she says, like most juries, get it perfect. And she says there's no such thing. They need to get it within a reasonable doubt. There's no such thing as beyond any doubt. They have to consider all of that information. And a lot of times juries get emotional because there's a person right there in front of them. Their lives are in the balance. And so they're going to take their time and get it absolutely correct. Guys, back to you.
All right, Sean, thank you. When there is a verdict, we will bring it to you on all our platforms. Stay tuned to Local 4, Local 4 Plus, and click on Detroit.com. We'll bring you our next scheduled update at 6 o'clock.
Lawmakers from across southeast Michigan today rallied in support of a water affordability bill now making its way through Lansing. It would cap water bills at 3% of household income, add $2 to the average water bill to create a fund that would cover back bills for those who can't afford them. Local 4 business editor Rod Maloney live with more on the reasoning behind this and some reaction. Rod.
Well, yeah, you know, one of the things they talked about was taking care of the plumbing that's already leaking that needs to get repaired. If they can get that, they think this can also help with that. Now, water, the staff of light, getting clean, dependable water and being able to afford it is a big issue across the state. This bill 459 went through Lansing for hearings last October. Didn't have enough traction to get through the last session, but they're bringing it back now. In Royal Oak, Democratic legislators, city and county officials from all across southeast Michigan worried water affordability is a major problem and joined Democratic State Senator Stephanie Chang.
The statewide water affordability legislation is not only the moral thing to do for Michiganders who are struggling to make ends meet, it is also the smart thing to do for the financial stability of our water systems, and it's the right thing to do to protect our public health.
Municipalities providing water face a tough problem when people can't pay their water bills. They often add the unpaid portion of property tax bills. The house ends up oftentimes in foreclosure. They can also offer other kinds of water assistance, as Detroit has done, or they can just take the financial hit. Senator Chang says this is the better alternative.
One of the things that I am hopeful for is as we pay off arrearages, as we pay for people's plumbing repairs in low-income households and get people the water bills they can afford, eventually we may actually see that $2 go down.
Yet the bill is not getting a rubber stamp in Lansing. Mackinac Policy Center's James Holman says,
if people cannot afford the necessity of water, then it is an indictment of our current welfare system.
The Earned Income Tax Credit, Medicaid, home heating credits are just some of the assistance programs already in place, and he believes an additional $2 is really a non-starter.
If this is a necessary and important program, they don't need to raise taxes on some people in order to pay for it. There's money in the budget already. If it's really a necessity, if it's really important, and if it's a priority, then it needs to be a priority against the state's other spending subjects.
Now, Mike Duggan said at the presser today that the federal government has been promising to send this kind of money for a long time. It's not coming, he says, so the state needs to step in. But in Lansing, this is one of those things where they're going to need Republican support when they've got a deadlocked legislature in terms of numbers and head count. They need Republican votes. But getting people to vote for an increase to water bills is probably a tough sell during an election year, but we'll see where this goes. Reporting live, Rod Maloney, Local 4.
We know you'll stay on it. Okay, Rod, we appreciate it.
The King of England is fighting cancer. Buckingham Palace announced today King Charles III has been diagnosed with a form of cancer, though the royal family isn't specifying the type or stage. The cancer was spotted during a recent procedure Charles underwent for an enlarged prostate. The 75-year-old king is undergoing treatment and has been advised by doctors to postpone any public-facing duties. Representatives for Prince Harry say he has spoken with the king about the cancer diagnosis and will travel to the UK to see him in the coming days.
A former Detroit Piston who made a big impact on the community has passed away. Earl Kuran spent most of his life expanding the footprint of basketball in Detroit. Kuran played 3 seasons with the Pistons from '83 to '86. The Finney High graduate played 2 of his college seasons at the University of Detroit Mercy, where his number 24 was retired back in 2020. He was a Pistons community ambassador over the past 10 years. No cause of death has been released, but we're told his passing was unexpected. Earl Kuran was 66 years of age.
Want to give him opportunities.
He's the architect of the Lions, the man whose job it is to find the very best players for the Dan Campbell system. Today, it was Brad Holmes' turn to speak out about the team's success this past season and making the next one even better.
Oh, yeah, and Bernie, when Brad Holmes walked up to that podium today, he seemed like he was fired up about the future.
Through most, yes, about the future, no question, and he was pumped for good reason. The Lions had just played in the NFC title game, and even though they didn't win, their future looks immensely bright, which is something you rarely heard here in the past 20, 30 years. Standing by live with more on what Holmes said is Hobie RT. Good evening, Hobie.
Hey, what's going on, Bernie? Yes, with an opening statement that lasted more than 10 minutes, Brad Holmes had plenty to say today. He even came in with some receipts, too, defending his draft classes that took a lot of criticism at the time. But Holmes added that this is not an I told you so type of moment. Instead, the Lions play, it did all the talking, something Holmes hopes is the start of something special. Minutes after they walked off of the field in Santa Clara, Lions players immediately talked about being motivated going into next season. That's a sentiment at the top, too.
Look, that was a disappointment, that we didn't make it.
Lions GM Brad Holmes upset by the season ending, but excited about this up-and-coming franchise alongside Dan Campbell.
Our opponents knew who they were getting ready to play when they were ready to face us. Everybody knows what our culture is, and they all know that it's an all-hands-on-deck effort.
This was a Lions season filled with so many memorable moments. I mean, just take your pick, from Brian Branch's pick 6 against the Chiefs to beat the defending Super Bowl champs in Week 1, to beating the Vikings in the last week of the season for the team's first 12-win season in more than 3 decades. And how about hosting a playoff game here at Ford Field for the first time ever? But those experiences have now created the expectation moving forward.
It's only going to get better, okay? We're only going to get better, all right? I don't want anybody to think that this was a one-shot Cinderella magical journey that just happened. No, it's real, all right? This is exactly what it was supposed to happen.
The Lions have decisions to make. Free agency starts in mid-March, with the draft coming to Detroit in April. While potential new players might view this team differently, Holmes says the team's approach will not change in adding the right players to improve.
We don't believe in handouts. We're a culture of accountability and a culture of earning it. And our communication with all our players is there's going to be competition.
The Lions made the leap this year, but taking another step is now the offseason focus.
Over the next few months, every move that we make, it's to win in December. It's not to win March, April, and May.
Holmes also added that every move the Lions make will be intentional. Every one they do or do not make. Some big dates coming up for the Lions and the NFL too. The Combine coming up at the end of February, with free agency set to start on March 13th. We're live outside Ford Field tonight. Hope BRT, Local 4.
All right.
Thank you, Hope.
March 13th, right around the corner, too. So fire it up.
This is going to be an unbelievable off season. Every day is going to be some Lions story because people are really into this.
Right, still into it.
Yeah.
Okay, Bernie, thanks.
Okay.
We'll see you in a little bit. Let's take a live look outside right now, downtown Detroit. Just kind of gray and gloomy.
And it may be gray and gloomy, but it's mild. Let's get over to Ron Hilliard, who's also tracking some fog.
Kimberly, we and Pamela, we are seeing a lot of cloud cover. We got a nice dose of sunshine over the weekend, but we have the cloud cover with us today. We will have it tonight, and we won't see the return of some sunshine until tomorrow. So here's what we're seeing right now in Metro Airport. The cloud cover with us in Romulus, 37, Detroit, and Ann Arbor, 32 in Lapeer. We're at 38 in Monroe. Those winds are light right now. You'll see where we do have some breaks in the clouds as you get over toward Ann Arbor, over toward Jackson, more of that sunshine. But the rest of us, we are still waiting on it. All right, here's a look at where we are also seeing issues with fog. Especially as you get into the Lapeer area, it's Tuscola County also seeing some of that fog. We will see the reemergence of that across other parts of Metro Detroit as well. And with the cold temperatures that we have out there later on tonight, we could see some freezing fog, which means the potential for some slick spots out there. So the cloud cover out there this evening, getting to the freezing mark across most of the area later on around midnight. We'll talk more about that coming up.